Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Health Talks with Ernestine. My name is Ernestine Hopkins, and for those of you who have never heard of me, you don't know who I am a certified women's empowerment coach. And what that means is I help women to uncover the blocks that have stopped them from becoming successful, and then I empower them to achieve success. And for those women who find that trauma is a block for them, I am trained in trauma debriefing. Trauma debriefing is all about building resilience by learning how to self-regulate so that if a person is triggered by something or if they're experiencing anxiety, they're able to stay in the driver's seat of the car as opposed to the trauma or the anxiety jumping into the driver's seat and controlling their thoughts, their emotions, and their actions. So the topic for today's discussion is inner me, healing from the inside out. And before I introduce my special guest to you all, I want to let you all know that we are doing 2 giveaways today instead of 1. So if you did register on Eventbrite, you were automatically put into a drawing. So the winners will be randomly selected and they will be announced at the end of today's event. The only thing is, in order to claim your gift, you have to email me today with your mailing address and your name and what prize you would like to select. And I'll talk more about the prizes a little bit later today, but you do have to send that email today. Also, for those of you who don't know me, I am in the process of turning my book, which is called Saving Myself from Me, into a show. It's a series that will be appearing on YouTube, and it is called Redemption Train. So Redemption Train is based on my book, but it is with a twist because the story is about these 2 girls and how they navigate their life experiences. But Redemption Train is about the 2 girls and their mothers, because I always say girls who haven't healed become women who haven't healed. And the same for boys who haven't healed, they become men who haven't healed. Okay. So I'm so excited. I was able to release the teaser for this project back in January. And if you have not had a chance to check out the teaser for this project, I don't know what you're waiting for, but the link is in the chat. You can check out the teaser today. And my special guest today, he actually had a big hand in the Redemption Train project. He did all the lighting for the project. So I'm really, really excited to have him here with us today. So now I want to introduce to you all my special guest. Let's see here. So his name is Don Hopkins.
Hey.
He is a speaker and a creative director. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I am so excited to have you here. And I know some people don't know you. So for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about you and who your fine self is married to and what you do.
So my name is Don Hopkins, and I am married, been married to a woman named Ernestine Hopkins. It'll be 15 years in December. And we have 3 kids, Brianna, Trey, and Jace. And we live here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm a creative director here at Transformation Church, and been working in the church realm for the past 20 plus years.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm a musician, I'm a photographer, I'm an all-around creative and do a little bit of everything. So I'm extremely blessed.
Yes, you are. And I'm so excited to have you here, especially to talk about this topic. Inner me, healing from the inside out.
Yeah.
That is such a relevant topic. So I'm ready to dive in if you are.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so for the people who don't know us, let's start with both of us sharing a little bit about our journeys in life that cause us to need healing. I'll go first and then you go.
Great.
So when I was younger, I was sexually abused and I also had low self-esteem, but I did a really, really good job of hiding it. I didn't talk about it with my friends or with my parents. I just secretly compared myself to others. So it was a mental battle for me. And that low self-esteem started for me when I was about 8. And it carried on until I was in my early 30s. And it started because an older adult, a family member told me that I looked so skinny that I looked like I was going to die. So as a child, that translated as skinny equals ugly.
Yeah.
And it was the onset of feelings of rejection that carried into my adulthood as other adults made comments to me about my physical appearance. But as a child, my parents did a really good job of affirming me. But because of the way he looked at me in disgust when I was 8, I felt disgusting despite my parents' efforts. I learned years later that he was a child molester. So him finding me unattractive, I guess, kind of worked in my favor, but it didn't work in the favor of others.
Yeah.
So when one of his victims became an adult, she revealed that when she was a child, he told her to keep what he was doing a secret or else he was going to get me. So she stayed quiet to protect me, and it caused her to make a number of choices that weren't the best for her life. And
Mhm.
eventually she did pass away. And I remember the last conversation I had with her shortly before her passing. I was trying to encourage her, and I was just letting her know that she was going to be okay and life would get better. And she just kept saying, "Do you think so?" She said, "I don't know about that, Ernestine." And she had a hard time seeing beyond what she could physically see,
Yeah.
which was devastation. And so the way I picture it, because I'm a visual person, so the way
Mhm.
I picture it is that she was stuck. I see her in that house where it happened. I see
Yeah.
her walking down a hallway, trying to get to the front door so she could escape. But the more she walks, the longer the hallway becomes and the further away the door seems to her. So she never made it to the door. She
Yeah.
never made it out that house.
Mm.
So I had a very, very hard time reconciling what happened to her as a child and reconciling her death in my brain. Feeling like I should have done more, all of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Yeah.
And the thing is, many people are stuck just like her and they just don't realize it. Many people are making decisions in their lives from their hurt places, from the things they haven't healed from, and they don't realize it. It never even crossed my mind that I hadn't healed from my past hurts and disappointments, and that many of the decisions I made came from that rejected child, just wanting someone other than my parents to call me beautiful. And other decisions came from that abandonment I felt when my parents divorced.
Mm.
But I did a good job of appearing like nothing was wrong, like nothing was going on in my head. I didn't want to be a burden to others, so I kept it to myself. But my one outlet was poetry. And I never will forget about a time one of my cousins asked me to use one of my poems for an assignment she had had at school. And I remember she ended up being upset because her teacher was alarmed and concerned by the contents of the poem.
Mhm.
She was concerned for my cousin's safety, not knowing that the words of that poem were mine. So I grew up, became an adult, started dating in relationships I had no business being in, which further damaged my self esteem. Didn't really allow room for healing from anything because I didn't even know I needed to.
Yeah.
So I just carried on with life, married you at 25, unknowingly carrying bags of my past with me. So I
Yeah.
know I just said a mouthful, but that's my story. So what's yours?
So a little bit of a different story, a lot of similarities. I initially was raised in a two-parent home up until I think I was maybe 7 or 8, around that time. And parents got separated, they divorced, and I went from living military housing life to living in the hood with multiple people under the same roof. And it was culture shock. And my mom met a guy early on, and he was very abusive, very physically abusive.
Mhm.
And he literally was with my mom off and on all the way up through till I graduated high school. But this guy was very abusive,
Mhm.
very manipulative, and out of all the siblings, I was the oldest sibling left in the house. My older brother and my older sister had already moved out, and this guy was also abusive towards me. And so I really internalized a lot of that abuse and made it, and it made me feel like I wasn't valuable. This was
Mhm.
before the days of FaceTime and cell phone calls and all that. So I couldn't
Yeah.
just pick up the phone and call my dad whenever I wanted to.
Mhm.
You had to write a letter. And I'm 7, 8 years old. I don't even have your address. You know what I mean? And so I
Yeah.
didn't talk to my dad that often. And I was a little boy that was trapped and had no father figure and had no way out. I'm living in the hood. I don't know how to navigate, community and all of that stuff. And so a lot of that caused me to act out, and caused me to have, anger issues, and it caused me to feel like I wasn't valuable and I wasn't loved. And I began to allow that or I put my self-esteem in the hands of other people.
Yeah.
Talked to a lot of girls. If the girls thought I was attractive, that went to my head because I was like, man, now in my mind, I didn't realize consciously, like, oh, I'm insecure. And every time someone gives me a compliment, it's going to go to my head.
Yeah.
But I was secretly, without knowing that's intentionally what I was doing, I was seeking affirmation from
Mhm.
from whoever I could get it from. And so that led to a lot of bad decisions. It led to a lot of hurt. It led to a lot of aggression. It led to a lot of undealt with anger and issues.
Mhm.
And I didn't know how to talk about my feelings because I had never had no one to teach me that. So I just bottled everything in and kept it on the inside.
Mhm.
Um, had older people who were supposed to be my quote unquote brother, to help me and to teach me how to be a man. And that turned into in a sexually abusive relationship. And at a young age, again, I'm older now, a teenager, and having these experiences and feeling like people have taken advantage of me, and it was a rough ride. And so fast forward up to, again, 25 years old, which I'm leaving out a ton of stuff. I get married with undealt with baggage, and yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like we both, we both came in with some things that we didn't deal with. And I don't know about you, but I don't even know that I even knew that I needed to be honest.
Absolutely not. Well, as a 25-year-old man, and I say 25-year-old man, I know this is not everyone's experience, but from where I grew up, you didn't talk about your feelings. Mm. And you sure wouldn't going to be emotional and cry. Like, you have to chalk that up and be like, hey, be a man. This is life. Right. Life is going to be hard. You got to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, you'll be all right. Just grow through it. Time will heal all wounds, and all of these other little sayings and phrases that we say to make us feel better about the circumstances that we're in, and we actually never deal with it. And so what happens is we become adults who are still that same 7-year-old little boy or 7-year-old little girl that's hurting still because you never dealt with the issues.
Right. Yep. You hit it on the head. That's absolutely right. So one of the things, well, let's do this. I want to, I feel like people could really, really benefit from hearing from each of us what we each did that has helped us on our journey of healing. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's somebody who's watching who may have experienced other things, but there are probably plenty of people who experienced similar things to what we did. And so I think they could benefit from hearing. So what's one thing that worked for you on your personal journey of healing?
One thing, man, there are a lot of things, or I don't want to say a lot of things. There are a few things, but one major thing I would have to say that is probably the most important is I found God. I believe that if I had not found God, there were certain situations and scenarios that would have not lined up that caused me to be where I am. Okay. And so I think it's because of my faith in God and his ability to really kind of adjust my view and tweak some of the things that have affected me from my past to cause me to heal first on the inside. And then it changed my perspective and my view and how I perceived other things. And it allowed me to see other areas of my life. It was like, oh, this is not accurate. Based on my belief system, based on how I believe, this is a problem. I haven't healed from this. And so you begin to realize certain things, and then you are empowered because of your faith to address those things that you probably never been able to address before. So that is the root source of really what helped me to heal.
Okay. So one of the things that was major for me too was also God, my relationship with God, understanding who Christ says I am, because again, I viewed myself as the way that man viewed me when I was 8. Yeah. So my view of myself was very, very skewed, but understanding and learning that, the Bible says that we're fearfully and wonderfully made in Psalms 139, verse 14, that I'm the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath. We all hear that one, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 13. Understanding that I was loved, and understanding that it says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, cast all your cares upon him, for he careth for you. Yeah. Coming to terms with the fact that God actually did care for me and I wasn't alone. People often feel like they're fighting alone and God forgot about them. But me accepting the idea that that absolutely was not true. Finding my identity in Christ really, really changed the game for me. What else helped for you?
Honestly, being married to a person that was a safe space for me to be able to open up. It's already hard, especially as a man, like it's already hard to open up about your feelings and your emotions and to be able to share that. Yeah. It's even harder to have to share it with, or let me say this, it's easier or it's more efficient to be able to share that with someone whom you really believe you can trust with the information. Because here's the thing, most of your life or most of my life has been built off of lack of trust, relationships that actually weren't beneficial or weren't actually what I thought they were.
Mm,
and unhealthy, toxic relationships, people, all of that. And so coming across a person who I had to learn was actually there to help me. I had to learn was genuine, really wanted to be the help me that God created for you to be. I had to trust that, but that didn't happen right off the bat.
mhm,
That took time. It took a long time because
mhm,
I was stubborn. But I think one of the things that really helped is having you as a wife that was able to be receptive and say, "Hey, listen, I understand," and not judge me or make me feel bad because of the things that I experienced. The more safe I felt, the more vulnerable I allowed myself to be.
mm. Wow, thank you. I mean, I know you're sharing for the people, but
Come
thank
on and
you.
receive it. So receive the praise.
Something else that helped for me was doing the work. Oftentimes, when we're triggered by something or reminded of our past hurts and traumas, we pull away because we don't like how it feels. We retreat and we don't move forward with doing the work. I made the choice to do the work no matter how uncomfortable it made me feel. And I chose hope instead of fear. I was hopeful because I knew that at the end of the work I was about to do, the work of healing from the inside out, by taking the time to process what happened and how it made me feel, acknowledging and processing those feelings, letting those feelings out in a safe space and in a safe way, I knew that at the end of the uncomfortable work was a beautiful rainbow. Um, do you have anything else? Anything else that really helped change the game for you?
I will have to say, um, it took effort.
Mhm.
Honestly, that's one of the biggest things. Once you're convinced,
Mhm.
once you know you have a relationship with a person who is able that you're able to trust, like the biggest thing is effort. Like I can't just know the issue. But now I have to be accountable and responsible to what I know. And now that's taking action. And so the biggest, I would say, setback, but also the biggest win for me was the action part. It took me so long to actually take action. I just wanted it to happen. I just wanted to be healed. I just wanted to feel different. I just wanted it to happen. I just wanted to be zapped with this mystical power that was going to cause me to be healed. Right. And we say stuff like, well, time heals all wounds. And so the whole time you're sitting there waiting to be healed and nothing's happening, not
Yeah.
realizing that there's an action step that needs to be implemented for you to actually start taking those necessary steps towards healing. There's going to be things that you're going to have to refrain from, things that understanding your triggers and saying, all right, I have to put actionable steps in place that causes me not to be in areas where I'm triggered by certain things. You know what I mean? And then when I am feeling triggered, not assuming that I'm alone and being able to, if you're married, share that with your spouse and say, hey, there's times I've come to you and says, hey, I'm struggling with this.
Mhm.
Pray for me. Hey, this is how I'm feeling about this. Those are actionable steps. You know what I mean? But also, again, going back to my faith in God is like, okay, I have to learn of who I am. He said to flee, right? The enemy will flee from us, right? If we would resist him. And so anytime there's thoughts that I know that are not my own thoughts that are pushing me towards having an attitude or feeling rejected or feeling abandoned or feeling whatever those feelings are that triggered me to cause me to change my attitude or to be or to act in whatever manner, I have to put these steps in place that says, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I need to go and pray, or I need to go and just relax, get my mind clear. I need to go for a walk. I mean, whatever works for you, all those things work for me. Or even watching a movie with you, that's something that really helps me. And I even told you that the other night.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, like it's a big thing for us to just for me specifically, I mean, we have date night every week. We go out and we make that intentional time. But even outside of like our normal time that we, intentionally get away and go spend time together,
Yeah.
there are times where we spend time together at home and just say, "Hey, let's watch a movie together." Like,
Yeah.
and that's therapeutic for me. If I'm having a hard day or frustrated, I'm just a little antsy and I'm just not feeling it,
Yeah.
being able to have those things that I know that help me and being intentional about making, doing it.
Yeah. That's important. Knowing what works for you and doing it, because I know a lot of times people will be triggered or they'll be, they're experiencing certain things and they know what to do, but in those moments they're very caught up in that moment and they don't do what they know they need to do. If that makes
Absolutely.
sense. So, I mean, I created a plan so that I would be fully equipped on how to self regulate in moments when I might be reminded of my past, so that I wouldn't spiral out of control and damage other people. Because at the end of the day, when we do that, we are damaging others, the people that we say we love the most.
Hmm.
We damage them. So it's important to create a plan so that you're like, hey, um, when this happened, this is what I will do. Some people were able to figure out on their own what to do, how to self regulate. Like they do research, they practice, the trial and error, and they
Hmm.
figure out what works for them. Others need the assistance of a licensed professional counselor, which either way is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Counselors able to help them create a plan, help them process their feelings and process the things that they've experienced and teach them what to do and walk with them. You want to share about your experience with counseling?
Yeah. So I actually started going to counseling this year for the first time.
Mhm.
And I always thought counseling was for people who had mental issues. And I think that there's a truth to that, but I think the focus is more on when people say mental issues, we assume that means psychiatric type of issues. Maybe you're not in your right mind, or
Mhm.
maybe you have a split personality and you whatever.
Yeah.
But I had mental issues,
Mm.
right? Basically, I had things that would trigger me emotionally and mentally that would cause me to act differently.
Mhm.
I was in my right mind. I wasn't like dealing with split personalities or anything like that, but
Yeah.
it was still a mental issue. And so I realized, like, man, you know what? I might need to see a counselor and just be able to talk to somebody and just let them know how I'm feeling and help, and them not telling me what I need to do, but helping me process why I feel that way and
Yeah.
tracing the root, or tracing it back to the root of when that thought initially was planted in my life.
Mhm.
And so counseling has really helped me. It really helped me pinpoint things that I thought was just that's just my personality. That's who I am. And my counselor would say, "Well, why is that who you are?" That
Mm.
that came somewhere at some point. What made you think that that's who you are?
Mm.
Let's think back for a second and really think. Tell me a little bit about, your past, and what's the earliest memory of when you first started thinking this is just who I am? What happened? What made you think that? And what it does is it makes you have to go back and really brainstorm and think and say, honestly, I remember when I was a child. And like, for example, I'll give you a real life example.
Okay.
And you know this, I'm weird around people who cry.
Oh
I
yeah.
get I am just like, when people start crying, like, break. And I don't mean like you just have some tears running down. I'm thinking like when you're like, head in your hand, facing your hand, crying, you boo-hooing. And I get really like silent and awkward because I don't know how to handle that. And I told that to my counselor just in past. It wasn't even like a serious conversation. And when I said that, she said, "Well, why do you think that is?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm just weird. It's awkward." She said, "But why is it awkward? Like, what happened?" And so she started asking these probing questions to make me think. And it hit me. When I was younger, elementary school age, my
Mhm.
mom her boyfriend had beat her up real bad, and it was in the middle of the night. And I remember I was sleep in bed, and it woke me up. I mean, it was chaos going on in the room. I mean, dressers, being shifted around, all kinds of stuff going on. And I remember he opened the door and he said, "I'll be back later." And he walked out of the house and he left. And I remember I could hear my mom in the other room crying. And I remember walking into, like, in the hallway to look into her room without her seeing me. And I remember I felt completely helpless. I had no idea what to do. What was I going to do?
Mhm.
I'm a little boy, 8 years old, 9 years old, however old. And my mom is sitting here crying because this guy just beat her up. And I'm completely helpless.
Yeah.
And so the only thing I knew to do was to retreat. I turned around, went back in bed, and went back to sleep. And ever since then, whenever, especially women, would cry or break down, I I would try to run for the hills. I didn't want to, because I did not know, because that little boy in me saw my mom crying and I didn't know how to help her. So
Yeah.
I froze. And
Mhm.
so she helped me realize that. And that was just from her asking
And I
questions.
really hope that that encouraged somebody who was watching this. how your counselor was able to help you pinpoint why you were that way,
Yeah.
and help you start the journey of where that becomes a little less of a heightened situation for you. I mean,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
But here's the important thing though. The important thing is when you don't deal with this stuff, and half of us don't deal with it because we don't know how to deal with it. We don't know about thinking back and finding that first place where it
Right.
happened. We don't know that. We just think half of the time we don't even remember certain events happen in our lives.
Right.
But what happens is you become an older person who never dealt with these issues. I'm about to be 40 next month. And I'm just now being able to pinpoint issues of why I have certain things trigger me to have an attitude, or why certain things trigger me to feel helpless and abandoned. Like, why am I awkward when women cry, or when my wife cries, or my daughter cries? Like, why am I am just now at 39 years old realizing the root of that problem. And so it's important to be able to get to the bottom of it. It's important to see a licensed professional and a counselor to ask, to be able to just to help navigate and dig up some of the things that might be bones in the closet that you didn't realize was there.
Yeah. And so, how do you feel now after you've gone to several mini sessions with her? Like, how do
Mhm.
you feel now? Like, do you feel lighter? Do you feel the same? Like, how do you feel?
It feels more liberating. It's a free feeling. Um, and the reason why is because I have tools now. And here's the thing: I still see her not every week, but when I feel the necessity to go see her and maybe navigate some things, I will go.
Hmm.
But she's given me tools to be able to assess things for myself. Now I know when I'm offended by something or someone, I can think it says, okay, why am I feeling this way?
Hmm.
Why am I offended by what they said?
Hmm.
Is there a level of truth to it? And if there is a level of truth to it, why am I mad about them telling me the truth? It helps me diagnose that situation by myself now, because I know how to ask those questions to help get to the root of why I feel this way. And if it's not something that's rooted back in my childhood or my past, maybe there's a different type of scenario or connection there. Maybe it's not because I was triggered by, having an attitude or feeling, abandoned or whatever like that. Maybe there's a prideful thing in me that always wanted me to, maybe there's a thing in me that always felt like I wanted to perform and look a certain way in front of people. And this person made me feel like I wasn't performing.
Hmm.
It's all kinds of stuff. And now I can go to these people instead of holding on to baggage, right? Because that's what I've been used to doing. Is somebody offends me, I just hold on to it and just harbor it. And what I do is I say, oh no, this person reminds me of that person. I ain't fooling with them because they seem like they kind of funny acting. I ain't gonna do that. And you
Yeah.
judge people based on your past experiences. And so now I have the ability to go to a person and say, hey, listen, you said this, it made me feel kind of weird. I just want to get to the bottom of it. Like, let's talk through that. And now I have the tools to do that and not have to worry about, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Why do I feel like this? And why am I thinking this way? And yeah, it really helps.
Yeah. And I've witnessed it firsthand, and everything he's saying, like, he actually does do, and it's amazing to see. We've been married almost 15 years, and
Mhm.
to know how it was before to how you are now, it's just amazing to see. And I'm really, really proud of you.
I
Really proud of
appreciate it. Well, thank you.
you. One of the questions that people have asked is, sometimes I'm reminded of the things that hurt me. Does that mean I'm not healed? I thought I was healed, but this reminded me of that, so I can't be healed. What do you say to that?
You know, the thing is, your emotions might be hurt or damaged, but your memory is not.
Hello.
You know what I mean? Your memory is still in full effect. Like, you're going to remember events that happened in your life. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of times the memory of a thing is not so we can harbor on it and say, yeah, I'll never forget. It's to say there's a sense of empathy that comes with remembering.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, you're going to come across someone else who's experienced or is going to experience or is currently experiencing what you've gone through.
Hmm.
How can you empathize with a person or sympathize with a person when you don't remember what it feels like? When you go to a person and that person says, yeah, my husband beat me, and maybe 20 years ago you were in an abusive relationship,
Hmm.
You have the ability to say, I completely understand. I know what you're feeling. I remember that feeling. I do. Because sometimes the best encouragement that a person can receive is sympathy. I just need someone to understand what I'm going through. A lot of times, this is a misconception too, is to think that everybody who's hurting always wants you to give them solutions. That's not always the case.
Right.
Sometimes people just want to be understood. They just want to feel like they're not alone. Most suicidal people, the reason why they commit suicide, a lot of times is because they feel like they're the only ones going through what they're going through. They feel alone. But if we can talk to people and let them know, like, hey, I remember what that felt like. I was in the same boat that you're in right now. There's a gift and a healing that comes through sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
But you can't really truly have sympathy if you can't remember.
Right.
Remembering, there's a certain aspect of remembering that's actually a gift. I remember everything that happened when I was younger. And I'm not sitting here anymore, right? Because I know how to handle it now. I'm not sitting here anymore like, oh my God, that memory I can't get that memory out of my mind. No, I remember what it felt like to not have a father. So guess what? I try my best to be the best father my kids can have.
Yeah.
Because I remember what it's like to not have a father at certain times in my life. I remember what it was like to not have my dad give me a hug and say, I love you, son. I know that my dad was like that, but I wasn't around my dad a lot of those early years.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do now with my kids, especially my boys, give them a hug, kiss them. I love you, son. Like I love you, man. No, because I remember as a boy once, I didn't have that. And I remember how it made me feel. And so because I remember how it makes me feel, I will
Yeah.
make sure that my boys and my daughter will never feel that. They'll never know what it's like to have an absentee father because I remember what it felt like to not have my father in the home. Remembering is not always a bad thing.
It's not.
Sometimes it's a blessing.
Yeah. I know some of the women I've worked with, they've been like, I still remember the smell of, whatever the event was, they remember what they were smelling at that time, whatever the event was that caused them trauma. And they're like, I shouldn't, now if I smell it, it triggers me and I should be past that by now. But
Mm,
like you said, your memories, we were, we're created to have memories.
yeah.
Like when I think about when I was a child, like when my mom, when we would clean, she would put on a certain song. So now every time I hear a certain song by BB and CC Winans, my mind goes back to that moment. And everybody would say, oh, well, that's normal. So if that's normal, why do we think that if we smell something that is similar to that moment, why do we think that that's not normal?
Yeah.
Like it's not uncommon, for you to remember.
Yeah. True healing affects habit, not memory.
Mhm.
Here's how you know you're not healed is when you are triggered or something does remind you of whatever happened in your past and the habits come out.
Mm.
Oh man, every time I used to hear this song, it made me want to go drink. And now every time you hear that song, you go have a drink.
Yeah.
The habit is the proof that you ain't healed, not the memory. You're gonna remember. You know what I mean? And yeah, there are going to be times where you may, somebody out there may have, like you said, a certain smell. That happens with me. There's certain smells I smell that reminds me of my childhood.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And they're good. There's good memories, and then there's also the not so good memories.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the root of my belief system being in God, it makes me not remorseful, but it makes me thankful. It
Mm.
makes me when something triggers me or causes me to remember a bad time in my past,
Mhm.
instead of saying, "Oh God," like, and now my mood has changed, it
Yes.
makes me say, "Man, God, thank you so much that you kept me."
Hmm.
There's a lot of people that didn't make it through this type of scenario. There are a lot of people right now that are dead in their grave because they took their own life because they could not handle it. God, thank you for giving me the strength to make it through the crap that I made it through. So when I think about that and I think about the things in the past, instead of getting down on myself or feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe I went through that as a child. Now my day is ruined because I just got triggered by something. I am thankful, like, man, wow, I am statistically, I'm not supposed to be here at 39 years old.
Right.
Being in the streets and doing all the things that I did as a kid. As a kid,
Hmm.
people think that I was in the streets as an adult. I wasn't. I was in the church already as an adult. I was in the streets in middle school.
Yeah.
Doing stuff we weren't supposed to be doing. Because we didn't have no fathers. We was all just running around just fathering ourselves. You know what I mean? But remembering those things makes me thankful now. Like, wow, I'm not supposed to be here. Thank you, God. Thank you, Lord, that I'm alive, that I'm married to a wife that loves me. I have 3 great kids that are smart and intelligent and gifted. Thank you, God, that you allowed me to understand. You allowed me to experience some of the things that I experienced that I did not understand why I had to experience it. But I am the father I am today because of it. Mm. I am 15 years married when I wasn't supposed to be. Mm-hmm. In our early years of marriage, there was nothing that said we were going to have a successful marriage and be married 15, almost going on 20 years.
Listen, nothing.
We're
going to talk more about that on another episode, go into more detail for sure, but he's not lying.
Yeah. So the memory of the past, it's about perspective.
Yes.
It's about perspective. Like if you allow the memory to continue to take you back to fulfill a habit that you would do back when this thing happened, then yeah, you're not healed. But the memory of a thing is not proof of that you're not healed. It's the action, it's the habit that comes with the memory. But if you can remember and then you can be thankful, like, man, I don't know how I made it through that, but I'm here. Yeah. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. And I'm thankful that I have the ability to be able to help encourage someone else who is going to be in a position that I was in. And maybe they don't have the strength to make it as far as I did. But I'm going to be that one tipping point that's going to help them push and continue to go forward because I remember. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about perspective. I love that. I love that. So guys, everyone who's watching, if you're ready to start your journey of healing, I encourage you to, number one, make a commitment that make a commitment to let go of your past hurts and disappointments. So make a commitment to let go of your past hurts and disappointments. Number two, no more sweeping your hurts under the rug. Yeah. You know how I feel about trash on the floor, Don. So imagine going to a restaurant and you're waiting for your table and they're like, oh, ma'am, this is your table right over here. It's dirty right now because we just finished with some guests. We have to clean it up. And you're like, okay, no problem. And you're watching them sweep the floor. And then they lift up this rug under the table and they start sweeping all the food and napkins and all the stuff that fell. They start sweeping it under the rug. And they're like, there you go. There's your table. You'd be like,
you feeling some kind of way. You confused.
Like, that's what y'all do here? It's like, if that's what y'all do out here, what are you doing back there in the kitchen? Like, you would be concerned, right? But that's what you're doing with your past hurts and disappointments when you're sweeping it under the rug, you know? Get those feelings out. Let them out, you know? Journal. Acknowledge what happened and how it makes you feel. Or you mentioned that, you know, you had me. You could talk to a trusted friend or family member, you know, or like we mentioned, connect with a licensed professional counselor. Yeah. Another thing is create a growth plan for your future, like with measurable outcomes. For example, make a goal for next week, a small goal, and then, you know, check at the end of the week. How did I do with that small goal? Celebrate the small wins. You know, don't look at the whole big picture. Do it in chunks. So that you can be like, okay, to help build your confidence, you know, in that area, you know, build momentum, show grace for yourself. No negative self-talk. Because a lot of times when we've been through stuff, we start viewing ourselves negatively and we talk negatively to ourselves. Take those thoughts captive. I think you mentioned earlier about grabbing those thoughts. Take those thoughts captive. Mm-hmm. I have another video on my Overcoming Anxiety series where I talk about how to take your thoughts captive, you know. Grab that thought, speak life to that thought, tell that lie the truth, speak the word of God to that lie, you know, and build yourself back up. And again, if letting go of the past is challenging and you need help navigating those negative thoughts and emotions, please consider speaking with a therapist. Okay. Yeah. Did you have anything else that you want to add?
You know, honestly, I think that's it. Just a reminder to anybody who watches this video. Mm-hmm. If you're breathing, there's hope. Yeah. I don't care what the scenario is. If you are breathing, there is hope. there is definitely hope. So never give up. And I know that sounds easier said than done,
Yeah.
but think of it like this. God loved you enough to see this video right when you needed to see it.
Yeah.
You're watching this video right now and you're thinking like some of the stuff is really speaking to me and
Mhm.
where I'm at. Or you might be thinking like, well, this is different. My situation is not. It's not. Everything we share today is universal. It doesn't matter. Even if you're in the worst of the worst situations, the biggest thing is God loved you enough to allow you to see this, to remind you, right, that there is hope. You can find freedom. It can, if I can find it, I guarantee it, you can find it.
Listen, listen. That was a whole bar.
Bars.
Yep. Well, Don, thank you so much for joining me for today's Health Talks. I am more than confident, like not even a little confident. I'm very confident that somebody began their journey of freedom after hearing what you shared tonight. And the amazing thing about you is there is so much more that you have to give the world. And I'm just honored that I get to see it unfold. So thank
Yeah, I'm
you.
honored to have you with me. I wouldn't be able to do it without you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Want to watch a movie tonight?
Yes, I do. Oh, hilarious. Well, I'll see you in a little bit.
Right.
Alrighty, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that. I absolutely did. I got a lot of great nuggets from Dawn. So thank you all for sticking in here with us. As I mentioned, I'm going to announce the winner in just a few moments, but I do want to make sure that I let you guys know about the next Health Talks. Um, Registration is already open for the next Health Talks. Let me make it a little bigger so you can see that. So yeah, Health Talks is every fourth Saturday at 6 p.m. So our next Health Talks is already scheduled August 27th at 6 p.m. Our topic is forgiveness, letting yourself and others go. And forgiveness is another big part of healing. So if you're on that healing journey, I highly, highly encourage you to register for this event. It is free. My special guest will be Felicia Hudson, also known as Coach Fee. Okay, so the link for you to register for that event is in the chat. Again, registration is open right now. Okay. So it is time for me to announce the winners. Okay. So I mentioned earlier, if you are the winner, then today, not tomorrow, but today, you need to email me your name and your mailing address to ernestinehopkins@gmail.com. That email address is in the chat also. But you have to make sure that you email from the email address you registered with, okay? And you need to let me know which prize you would like. You have two options. The first is an autographed copy of my book, Saving Myself from Me. And the second option is for Girls Who Conquer. It's a Girls Who Conquer shirt. So I know there are some guys who are on here. You might be like, what about me? You might have a woman or a girl that you know that you could gift this shirt to. The available sizes are small, medium, and large. This shirt is no longer in production. So those are the only available sizes that I do have. But again, you have the option of choosing between the book or the shirt. So make sure you email me your name, your mailing address, and which prize you would like. And if you want the shirt, let me know which size. So today we're doing two winners instead of one. I apologize in advance for butchering your names if I do. Feel free to let me know in the email the correct way to pronounce your name so I can get it right next time. But our first winner is Nichelle Delgado. Congratulations to you. And the second winner is Deborah Fiusa. Congratulations to you. So please make sure that you send me that email today, okay? And so today's Health Talks will live on the Ernestine Hopkins Consulting YouTube channel. That is where you can find this video. Make sure you share today's video with your friends and your family because I believe wholeheartedly that someone needs to hear what we talked about today. And don't forget, new videos will be uploaded to my channel every Saturday at 6 p.m. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. And speaking of new videos, next Saturday, I will continue in the Overcoming Anxiety series, part 4. In future parts, we're going to be talking about coping strategies, how to recognize anxiety and its roots and sources. Can God heal me from panic attacks? So you want to make sure you check out those videos that are coming so that you can get all that great information. So again, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification. So I just want to leave you with a quick word of encouragement before we part ways. Some of you might have watched this today and you're saying to yourself, I don't know if I can overcome what I've been through. Like Ernestine and Don did it, but I don't know if I can. That was them. I don't know about me. I want to tell you that you absolutely can overcome your past hurts and traumas and disappointments. But in order to overcome, you have to believe it's possible. It's time to start believing, and it's time to do the work. And as I always say, you can and you will. Thank you for watching Health Talks with Ernestine, a discussion on inner me, healing from the inside out. If you haven't already, make sure you like and share this video, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that bell so you'll be notified when new videos are posted.